There is a specific kind of quiet that settles in a room when a woman decides to stop trying. It's not the empty silence of loneliness. It's a dense, charged silence. It's the sound of a space being reclaimed. You know this quiet. It arrives the moment you put your phone face down on the table. Not with anger, but with a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. It's the moment you choose to read a book instead of rereading his last message. The moment you make yourself a cup of tea, and you sit in a chair that has felt empty for a long time, and you consciously decide not to fill the space with wondering about him. For so long, your energy has been a current flowing outwards, answering quickly, initiating conversations, keeping the connection alive. You were the caretaker of the flame, constantly checking to see if it was still burning, often using your own soul as kindling. You became so available, so consistently present, that your presence became part of the background, like the air he breathes, expected, assumed, and, ultimately, invisible. And then, one day, the well runs dry. It's not a dramatic decision. It's a quiet click inside. You don't announce it. You don't send a final, angry text. You simply stop. You stop being available. And in that moment, a profound psychological event is set in motion. You may think you have simply gone quiet, but what has actually happened is that you have withdrawn a fundamental piece of the relational dynamic. You have taken back your half of the invisible bridge that connected you, and now he is standing on the other side, in a silence he is not used to, facing a void where you used to be. The question that haunts you in the first few days of this new quiet is, does he even notice? The fear is that your absence will be met with nothing. That you were so insignificant that your disappearance doesn't even register. But this fear misunderstands the nature of the dynamic you were in. What happens when a woman stops being available is not about tactics or games. It is a deep psychological shift that forces the unconscious of both people to the surface. He doesn't just notice your absence on a conscious level. He feels it on a level he cannot name. The entire emotional ecosystem has changed. The weather has shifted. The air pressure has dropped. And his ego, which was so comfortable in the predictable climate you provided, is now in a state of alert. On the surface, his first reaction might be confusion, or even irritation. He might send a low-effort message, a meme, a simple hey, expecting the usual, immediate, warm response. He is testing the system, like someone pressing a button on a machine that has always worked. When the expected result doesn't come, he doesn't immediately think she is reclaiming her self-worth. His ego thinks the machine is broken. He might feel a flicker of annoyance. Why isn't she responding? Is she playing a game? This initial reaction is his ego's defense mechanism. It's an attempt to frame your new boundary as a flaw in you, rather than a consequence of the dynamic itself. It's easier for his ego to label you as dramatic or playing games than to face the uncomfortable truth that he had grown dependent on an energy source he never had to work for. But this is only the surface. The deeper truth is more uncomfortable, and it's here that the work of Carl Jung becomes so vital to our understanding. You were not just a person to him, you were a screen onto which he projected a crucial part of his own psyche. In Jungian terms, a man carries an unconscious inner feminine image called the anima. The anima is the archetype of life, of relationship, of feeling, of soul. When a man is not in conscious relationship with his own anima, he seeks it outside of himself. He projects it onto a woman. He looks to her to be his source of emotional warmth, his container for unspoken feelings, his guarantee that connection exists, even when he puts no effort into it. As the woman who was always available, you became the perfect carrier for his anima projection. You did the feeling work for both of you. You managed the emotional temperature of the connection. You were the living proof that everything was fine between you, even when he was distant, inconsistent, or emotionally absent. Your constant availability was his unconscious reassurance that his own inner world of feeling and connection was being taken care of by someone else. When you withdraw, you are not just withdrawing your texts and calls, you are taking back the screen. The projection collapses. And for the first time, he is left alone in a room with his own unlived feelings. The silence that you have created is not empty, it is a mirror. And in it, he is forced to see not you, but himself. He is forced to feel the lack, not of you, but of the part of himself he outsourced to you. This is a critical turning point. His reaction from this point forward is not really about you. It is about his relationship with his own inner world. Some men, at this stage, will panic. The discomfort of feeling his own emotional void is too great. This is when you might see a sudden surge of effort, the flurry of texts, the calls, the sudden declarations of, "I miss you." His ego is scrambling to restore the old dynamic. It wants the screen back up, immediately. It wants you to resume your role as the emotional caretaker so that he can go back to being comfortable. It is so easy to mistake this for genuine change. It feels like victory. He finally sees my worth, you might think. But you must be incredibly discerning here. Is he seeing you? Or is he trying to plug a hole in himself? Is he interested in who you are, what you feel, what you need? Or is he simply trying to stop the uncomfortable feeling of his own emotional emptiness? Often, this surge of attention is not about connection, it's about control. He is trying to get the machine working again. If you respond immediately, warmly, and fall back into the old pattern, you will teach his ego a dangerous lesson, that the only time it needs to put in effort is when you pull away. The dynamic will not change. It will just develop a more dramatic cycle of chase and withdrawal. He gets the comfort of your presence back, and you get the temporary relief of his attention, but the underlying structure of self-abandonment remains. But what happens if you don't immediately rush back? What if your silence is not a tactic, but a genuine return to yourself? What if you are truly busy filling your own cup, reconnecting with your own life, your own friends, your own purpose? This is when the second, deeper layer of his reaction begins. The initial panic and ego-driven pursuit may fade, replaced by something else, a quiet, gnawing unease. He starts to realize this is not a game. You are not waiting by the phone for his grand gesture. You are gone. The space you occupied is truly empty. This is the moment the loss moves from an ego problem to a soul problem. It's the difference between "I can't get what I want" and "I have lost something of value." He might find himself thinking about you at odd times, not just when he's lonely or bored, but when something good happens and he has no one to share it with in that specific way you listened. Or when he feels lost and the automatic impulse to reach out to you is met with the reality of your absence. He is experiencing the consequences of his own lack of investment. He is feeling the emotional deficit he created. He is, in essence, being forced into a relationship with his own anima. He has to learn to self-soothe. He has to confront his own feelings of loneliness. He has to ask himself why he let something valuable slip away. The qualities he projected onto you, warmth, depth, soulfulness, he must now find in himself, or feel the acute pain of their absence. This process is not guaranteed to lead to a positive outcome for the relationship. For a man who is deeply defended, who is terrified of his own inner world, this confrontation can be too much. He might retreat even further. He might find another woman to be his new screen, someone who is still willing to be perpetually available. He might lash out, blaming you for his discomfort, calling you cold or selfish. This is his ego's last-ditch effort to avoid self-reflection at all costs. It is easier to paint you as the villain than to face his own shadow. And what is his shadow? It is his dependency, his fear of being alone, his emotional immaturity, his inability to sustain a connection through mutual effort. As long as you were there, over-functioning and over-giving, his shadow could remain comfortably hidden. Your withdrawal forces it into the light. But for a man with a capacity for growth, a man with a flicker of consciousness, your absence becomes a catalyst, a painful but necessary catalyst. He begins to see that what he lost was not an object or a convenience. He lost a person. He starts to remember not just your availability, but your laughter, your insights, the way you saw the world. He starts to separate the real you from his projection of you. This is the point where genuine regret can begin to form. Not the manipulative regret designed to get you back, but a quiet, sober understanding of his own part in the story. He may not even reach out at this stage. He may be wrestling with his own pride, his own shame, his own ego. The battle is internal now. The question is no longer, how do I get her back? But why did I behave that way? What in me is so afraid of real intimacy? And all the while, what is happening to you? This entire process is not about him. It was never about him. It is about you. The moment you stopped being available to him, you started becoming available to yourself. The first few days, even weeks, are the hardest. Your own unconscious patterns will fight you. The abandonment complex, as Jungian analysts would call it, will scream in your ear. This is the deep-seated fear that if you are not constantly pleasing, connecting, and giving, you will be left. This complex was likely formed long before you met him, in early experiences where your value felt conditional on your usefulness or compliance. Your body is addicted to the chemical cycle of anxiety and relief that came from his intermittent reinforcement. You will feel the phantom vibrations of the phone. You will have the urge to check his social media, to look for clues, for any sign that you still exist to him. This is the withdrawal. It is a physical and psychological detoxification from a pattern of self-abandonment. This is where you must hold the line, not for him, for you. Every time you resist the urge to chase, you are rewiring your own nervous system. You are teaching your inner child that you will not abandon her in search of external validation. You are sitting in that empty chair in your own life and claiming it as your own. You are filling the silence not with anxious waiting, but with your own presence. You start to notice things, the taste of your own coffee, the pleasure of a walk without needing to report it to someone, the sound of your own thoughts, which have been drowned out for so long by the noise of us. You are withdrawing your own projections from him. You begin to see him more clearly. You see the man, not the God. You see his limitations, his fears, his inconsistencies, not as a judgment, but as a fact. The pedestal crumbles. You had projected your own capacity for deep, committed love, your animus, your inner masculine principle of spirit and meaning, onto a man who was perhaps not capable of embodying it. By taking back your availability, you are taking back your animus. You are no longer looking for your strength, your direction, or your sense of purpose in him. You are cultivating it within yourself. This is the path of individuation. It is the journey of becoming whole, of integrating the masculine and feminine energies within your own psyche. Your silence is not a void. It is a crucible. It is burning away the persona of the cool girl, the understanding girlfriend, the low-maintenance woman. These were masks you wore, believing they were the price of admission for love. But the persona is what is acceptable to others. It is not who you are. And living inside a persona is exhausting. Beneath that mask is your shadow, the parts of you that you deemed too much, your need for consistency, your desire for deep intimacy, your anger at being taken for granted, your right to take up space. As you sit in your own quiet, these shadow aspects begin to emerge, not as monsters, but as lost parts of your own soul, asking to be reclaimed. You learn to say, I need consistency, not as a demand to him, but as a statement of fact to yourself. It becomes a non-negotiable standard for any future connection. And a strange thing happens. As you become more available to yourself, you become less desperate for his availability. Your center of gravity shifts from him back to you. The question, what is he thinking, is replaced by a much more powerful one. What do I want? If this journey resonates with you, if it names a silent struggle you've carried, take a moment to acknowledge it. This is not about blame. It is about seeing a pattern so clearly that it can no longer run your life unconsciously. So, what happens if he does come back? If he returns after this deep internal shift has happened in both of you, he will not be met by the same woman. He will not be met by the ever-available, anxiously waiting projection screen. He will be met by a woman who is grounded in her own being, a woman who is occupying the chair in her own life. She will not be cold or punishing. Coldness is a reaction, a defense. She is beyond that. She is calm. She is discerning. Her peace is now more valuable to her than his presence. She will listen to what he has to say, but she will listen with her whole body, not just her hopeful heart. She will feel for the truth beneath his words. Has he done the inner work? Does he speak with a new self-awareness, an understanding of his own patterns? Or is he just singing the same old song, promising the moon because he's lonely on a Tuesday night? A woman who has returned to herself can tell the difference. She is no longer attached to a specific outcome with him. Her happiness is not contingent on his return. Therefore, she has nothing to lose by speaking her truth and holding her boundaries. She might say something like, "I hear that you miss me, and I'm open to seeing what has changed. But what I'm not available for anymore is inconsistency. I'm building a life that feels peaceful and stable, and I will only welcome energy that aligns with that." This is not an ultimatum. It is a statement of reality. It is the voice of her integrated self. It is calm, clear, and non-negotiable. For the man who has truly reckoned with himself, this will be incredibly attractive. He will not be intimidated by her strength. He will be drawn to it. He will see a whole person, not a role to be filled. He will feel respect, a desire to meet her on this new level. This is the foundation for a mature, conscious relationship. A relationship between two whole individuals, not two fragmented halves trying to complete each other. But for the man who is just trying to restore his comfort zone, her calm self-possession will be a wall he cannot climb. It will expose his lack of genuine intent. He will likely retreat again, perhaps for good, because the price of admission to her world is now authenticity, and he is not willing to pay it. In either outcome, she wins. If he meets her on this new ground, she has the chance at a relationship that is rooted in mutual respect and wholeness. If he walks away, he has given her the gift of clarity, saving her from another cycle of self-abandonment. His departure is not a rejection of her. It is a confirmation that she has outgrown the dynamic that was slowly draining her life force. The greatest misconception is that a woman's power lies in her ability to make a man want her. That is the old paradigm. The true power of the feminine lies in her connection to her own self, her own inner source. When a woman stops being available to a dynamic that diminishes her, she is not losing a man, she is gaining a universe, the universe of herself. The empty chair is no longer a symbol of his absence, it has become her throne. From it, she is not waiting for a king to arrive. She is simply reigning over her own life, peacefully and completely. Her value was never in her availability to him. It was always in her presence to herself, and the silence he hears now is not a tactic. It is the sound of her coming home. My silence is not a game, it is my return to myself. But this homecoming is not an event, it is a process. It unfolds first in the body. For months, perhaps years, your body has been a logbook of this dynamic. It has kept the score. The tightness in your solar plexus when you sent a vulnerable text and waited for a reply. The shallow breathing as you scrolled through his social media. The clench in your jaw when he said something that subtly dismissed your feelings. Your body learned to live in a low-grade state of fight or flight, constantly scanning the horizon for the signal of his approval or disapproval. When you reclaim your energy, your body begins to exhale a breath it has been holding for a very long time. At first, this physical detoxification can feel like unease. The absence of the familiar anxiety is, itself, a source of anxiety. Your nervous system, so accustomed to the roller coaster of intermittent reinforcement, might interpret the new calm as something being wrong. This is the body memory of the pattern trying to pull you back in. It's the phantom ache of a limb that has been amputated, even if that limb was causing you pain. You must sit with this physical discomfort, breathe into it. You might notice your shoulders, which were permanently braced for impact, begin to drop. You might feel the knots in your stomach slowly uncoiling. Sleep might deepen, no longer punctuated by the subconscious listening for a late-night notification that would signal you were, for a moment, on his mind. This is the deep, cellular work of coming home. You are teaching every cell in your body that safety and peace are not external commodities to be earned from him. They are your natural state, your sovereign territory. Your body is not just a vessel for your mind. It is an archive of your truth. And as you stop abandoning yourself, your body stops being an archive of anxiety and starts becoming a garden of peace. With this physical shift, your inner world begins to change in concrete ways. You start to notice the texture of your own life again. One day, you'll be laughing with a friend, a deep, uninhibited laugh, and you'll realize halfway through that your joy is entirely your own. It is not being performed for an audience of one. It is not a story you are mentally crafting to tell him later to prove how happy you are. It is simply, purely yours. You begin to befriend the parts of yourself you once considered too much. Your deep need for connection, which you tried to suppress to appear low maintenance, you now recognize as your capacity for profound love, a gift to be shared wisely, not a problem to be hidden. Your anger, which you swallowed down to avoid being labeled dramatic, you now feel as a clean, clear signal from your soul. It is a sacred guardian of your boundaries. You learn to listen to it with respect, as it tells you where your energy is welcome and where it is not. This is the integration of the shadow. You are no longer trying to be a good woman or a cool girl. You are simply becoming a whole woman. And a whole woman is not afraid of her own hunger, her own fire, or her own depth. She understands that these are not the parts to be hidden, they are the source of her power. And then, often when you least expect it, the final test arrives. This is not the panicked flurry of texts from the first few weeks. This is different. This comes much later. Months, maybe even a year or more, have passed. You have truly built your life. The chair is not just occupied. It is a well-worn throne from which you govern your own world with a quiet confidence. He has become a distant memory, a closed chapter. And he reappears. He doesn't slide into your DMs with a low-effort, "Hey." He sends a thoughtful email. He leaves a vulnerable voicemail. He reaches out through a mutual friend to respectfully ask if you would be open to talking. He doesn't come with panic, but with a quiet, sober gravity. He speaks a new language. He uses words like accountability, reflection, and "I understand now." He may have been to therapy. He may have had another relationship that failed, forcing him to finally see the common denominator. He presents a compelling, articulate case for his own transformation. This is the most dangerous and potent test of all. It's easy to reject the man-child in a panic. It is much harder to hold your ground in the face of a man who seems to have genuinely grown. Your heart, with its infinite capacity for hope, will want to believe him. The old story will whisper, "See, he just needed time. This is what you were waiting for." But the woman who has come home to herself does not listen to that voice first. She listens to her body. As you read his message or hear his voice, what is the first, instantaneous signal from your nervous system? Is it a sudden, electric jolt of the old anxiety? A subtle tightening in the chest? That is your body's memory screaming a warning, reminding you of the cost of the old dynamic. Or is there a sense of calm, neutral curiosity? Can you feel your feet solid on the ground as you listen? Your body knows the truth before your mind does. It is the ultimate lie detector, and it has no attachment to a fairy tale ending. If you choose to engage, you do so from a completely new position of power. You are not a candidate auditioning for the role of his girlfriend. You are a sovereign queen, assessing a visitor to your realm. You don't need to be convinced of his change. You are simply observing whether his new frequency aligns with the peace you have cultivated. You might agree to a coffee, and in that meeting, you are not listening for promises about the future. You are watching his presence. Is he truly present with you, or is he performing presence? When you talk about your new life, your passions, your boundaries, does he listen with genuine curiosity and respect? Or do you see a flicker of the old impatience, a subtle desire to pull the conversation back to us? Does he celebrate your wholeness, or does his ego subtly look for cracks where it can reinsert its need to be needed? The ultimate test is not what he says, but how he reacts to your power. A truly changed man is not intimidated by your wholeness. He is inspired by it. He finds your boundaries reassuring, not threatening. He wants to meet you in your world, not pull you back into his. But the man who has only changed his vocabulary, not his core, will eventually reveal himself. He will balk at your new, unshakable self-possession. Your peace will feel like a judgment on his own inner chaos. He will eventually retreat, because the price of entry into your world is a level of self-awareness he has not yet truly earned. And if he does pass the test, if his actions, over time, consistently align with his words, if he proves himself to be a safe harbor for your heart, then what you have is not a second chance at an old relationship. It is the possibility of a brand new one, a conscious relationship, built not on projection and need, but on two whole individuals choosing to walk together. But the secret, the one that you can only learn by taking this journey, is that by the time you reach this point, his return is no longer the prize. The prize is the woman you became while he was gone. The prize is the peace in your own home, the joy in your own company, the unshakable knowing that your value is not, and never was, up for his negotiation. Whether he comes back or not, the outcome is the same. You have won. You have won back your life. You have learned that the most profound and enduring love story is not with him, but with the woman who was waiting patiently for you to come home to yourself. The silence is no longer about his absence. It has become a sacred space. It is the sound of your own soul, breathing freely. It is the sound of you, finally, wholly, and peacefully, being enough.